Our next inductee is Tommy Sanders. Tommy Sanders was born in the Keystone State on October 3rd, 1950. His father died 8 months before his birth, and all told his mother Violet raised 5 girls and 2 boys. His uncle Charlie Musselman was a racer, and along with Gene Goodling, competed for owner Ken Appler. Goodling would occupy a shop about a block from Tommy's house, and one day while tooling around on his bike, the youngster saw a race car being towed up the street. Naturally, he had to have a look. Around the time of his 8th birthday, he began hanging around the shop. There was a tavern nearby, and it wasn't unusual for Sanders to make runs for the team when they needed to find some food or a cold Coke. Because of his small stature, he could get inside the car and paint the body by hand, something we rarely do today. He was also paying attention. By the time he was 14, Sanders was changing spark plugs and gears. Goodling and the Appler team were successful in the early 1960s. Gene took the top spot at Lincoln Speedway in 1962 and 3. He was the best at Susquehanna in 62 and 64. And added an exclamation point to his best years, he was also the champion at Williams Grove in 1964. Showing the desire and drive that marked his entire career, Tommy would often hitchhike to and from the track, commonly getting home as late as 2 a.m. His mother, who was working hard to keep her family afloat, worried little because she knew where he was. This story could have largely ended here, with Sanders being a good local wrench, which is plenty admirable. However, his life was about to change. The Appler operation moved outside of town, but the garage would have a new tenant, Bobby Allen. Around 1:30 on a Friday afternoon, Sanders wandered down to Allen's shop to see what he was up to. Bobby said he was getting ready to head to Williams Grove, but he needed some help. By help, he meant he needed assistance installing a new engine. Once the task was complete, he asked Sanders to accompany him to the racetrack. That stint would last for 9 years. From 1968 through 1976, they won 65 races and championships at Lincoln, Susquehanna, and Reading. He helped Allen build his first race car in 1968. From there, they provided high-quality equipment for a host of drivers, like Van May, Rick Ferkel, and Smokey Snowbaker. Indicative of his craftsmanship, the 1975 Port Royal champion Johnny Grum won 9 straight races in a car that emerged from Allen's shop. It was during a trip to Shreveport, Louisiana, that Sanders struck up a conversation with Sammy Swindell, who was driving for Memphis owner Bobby Davis. He needed help and felt Tommy was the man who could fill the bill. Sanders was soon southbound. It was a smart move by Swindell. Sammy, whose career was prepared to take off, won the championship at West Memphis in 1976 and 1977. How strong was he? In 1977, Sammy took 14 of 16 features and was the runner-up on the 2 nights he didn't win. Sammy would head off the joint M.A. Brown squad. In the interim, Sanders spent time building a car for Bobby Marshall. Tommy then received a call from Doug Wolfgang. In the blink of an eye, he was headed to Lincoln, Nebraska. They started out hot, notably winning 2 races at East Bay. Then they went back to the Midwest and built 7 new cars. In 1978, equipped with the famed Speedway Motors car, the duo won 18 of 33 races and finished second to Johnny Boyd in the first ever World of Outlaws race. He would reunite with Sammy Swindell and help the future Hall of Famer as he prepared to enjoy a splendid stint with Wichita owner Laverne Nance. Departing mid-season, he then teamed up with a kid named Brad Doty, who was getting his land legs in a car owned by Sam Bowers. He wasn't through helping Hall of Fame drivers. He was hired by Oklahoma's Lloyd K. Stevens and quickly got Ron Schumann to victory lane. This was all fun, but his children were sent for school, and he felt it was time to come back home for a spell. To that end, he took a position with legendary owner Al Hamilton. With Keith Kaufman at the controls, 9 wins came in 1983, and during the 1984 season, Kaufman won 22 times, and it spanned from March through June 1st. We've only scratched the surface. Tommy Sanders' prepared cars have won at 45 tracks. Major victories have come in the Williams Grove National Open, the Lincoln Speedway State Championship 4 times, the Western World at Manzanita, the East Bay Nationals, the Dirt Cup, the Eldora 360 Nationals, the Florida State Fair, the Spring and Summer Nationals at Devil's Bowl. He also wrenched a second-place finish, gut-wrenching though it be, with Jan Opperman in the 1974 Nationals after leading 29 laps. He then moved in a new direction. He joined Gambler Chassis in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and in 1997, he was honored as the Builder Manufacturer of the Year for his work on Sammy Swindell's 1997 World of Outlaw Championship car. He would move to sales, and notes in the heyday, the company routinely turned out 200 cars a year with a top mark of 275. He then advanced to vice president of the company before retiring from racing in 2001. In 2002, Sanders began working for the working group and remained there until retiring in 2021. Looking back, he figures his cars won 230 to 240 features. He recalls this period in his life as rewarding, although the pay at times wasn't great. I worked for Kenny Weld, he said, for $75 a week. I spent half of that on gas just getting to work. Still, he notes with great satisfaction, watching something you built yourself compete and win, that is something special. Summing it all up, he adds, I wouldn't change it for nothing. As many of his peers know, this is far from a glamorous life. You were out in the elements. You were either freezing to death or getting burnt to a crisp, laying on the parking lot in a motel, all for another person to stand in front of an admiring crowd. This he did faithfully for some of the absolute legends in the sport. Yet today, it's his turn. The heavy lifting has been done, and now he gets to bask in the glory of a job well done. Please welcome that man to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, Tommy Sanders. What a ride.
You know, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, a lot of ups and downs. Probably the biggest downer I ever had was about 100 yards from here. To lead the Knoxville Nationals back in 1974 with Jan Opperman, and to lose it by probably less than 2 feet. I think it's still the closest Knoxville Nationals, finish. But I have a lot of people to thank. First of all, I've got to thank the Lord, because if it wouldn't be for him, I wouldn't be here. And I thank my mother for being able to put up with me when I was a kid, just taking off and running, and believe it or not, hitchhiking home at 2 o'clock in the morning by yourself when you're 8 years old. That was probably pretty stupid, but I wanted to go to the races really bad. But I have so many car owners and drivers to thank. I looked it up just recently. The drivers that are in the Hall of Fame, I either built cars that they won features in, or mechanics the cars, and to be able to do that it's quite an honor. And I told my wife one day, I said, I could probably go anywhere in the U.S. and in Australia and New Zealand, because I have friends in those countries also, in Canada. And if I needed a place to stay, they would put me up. Probably wouldn't cost me anything, because of the friendship that I've made over the years. And I'm blessed to be standing here right now. And I've got a list of car owners and some people I'd like to thank. And the car owners, the first one I ever worked for was Ken Appler from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And then Roy Emmerich with Bobby Allen's sponsor, Bob Weichert, the Weichert family, Bobby Davis Sr., Laverne Nance, Sam Bowers with Brad Doty, Lloyd Stevens with Ron Schumann, Bill Smith with Doug Wolfgang, Harry Fletcher, and then the people that I built cars with at their factory, Don Maxwell, C.K. Spurlock, and then I have to thank, and I really would like everybody to give this lady a big applause, and that's Shirley Kears. She has sold so many race cars for Gambler competition, and I just if everybody would just stand up and just congratulate Shirley Kears. I mean, I'm blessed to be her friend.
She's special. You may pay for this, Tommy.
You know, Shirley she's been a blessing in my life, and just being a friend, and she called me up one time. She says, hey, she said, I got a driver up here that's really struggling, and it was Jim Linder. He's in the Hall of Fame. And he had been having some trouble. And she says, will you come up and help him? So I drove to Fremont, Ohio, got there on a late Friday afternoon, worked on his car that night, worked on it a little bit on Saturday, went to Fremont. Now, he was having trouble making the races and stuff. And believe it or not, we won the feature that night. So that was a thrill to me, to be able to take somebody that was struggling to win races like that. You know, I look around here, a lot of the people that are here, I have either built race cars for and sold them through the Gambler Chassis Company or the Challenge Company for a year. And, you know, it's rewarding to be able to be friends with a lot of these people, and to give them thanks for all that they've done for me. And without all these people, there's another special couple that I want to say thank you very special to, and they're with the York County Hall of Fame, and that's Paul and Karen Miller. So thank you, Paul and Karen. We love you, and can't wait to see you again. So got to thank my wife and my family for being here. They've been a blessing to me, and what can I say about Bobby Marshall? It's an honor for me to be in here with Bobby. I lived with his parents for probably about a month and a half, and Bobby and I we built a jig, we built this car, and the only bad part about it was the first night out he turned it over in hot lap.
Those darn drivers.
Yeah. But Bobby and I had a great relationship. We would talk probably at least once a month. And the only thing that you didn't talk to Bobby about was you didn't talk to him about politics. You could talk to him about anything else. And he was a great guy, special friend. And I got to thank all the drivers I've worked for, too. Bobby Allen, Doug Wolfgang, Sammy Swindell, Brad Doty, Johnny Grum, Ron Schumann, Ronnie Daniels, went to races in Florida one time. They had an asphalt race with wing sprint cars, and they had a non-wing midget race. And I helped on Robbie Stanley, set a new track record, and we won the feature. So in the meantime, I was running back and forth, and I helped Jack Hewitt that night in a midget, and Jack won the race. So that was pretty rewarding too. So one of the greatest things that I can say is to build a car by yourself, or with a little bit of help, and to be able to roll that thing off the trailer and go out and win with it. There's nothing like it. I did that with, of course, a lot of times with Bobby Allen, Sammy Swindell, Bobby Davis Jr., the very first time he ever drove a sprint car. I bought a car for him in 1980. We went to Houston, Texas, and had fast time. He never drove a sprint car before. And, to be able to do that, it's rewarding. I look around here, all these great drivers and mechanics and stuff that are in here. Thank you so much for all that you do for racing. I got to thank the people here at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, Bob and Bill, and everybody that puts their hard effort to this. And I want to give back I talked to Ralph about this a while ago. I woke up in the middle of the night last night, and my dream now is to start a foundation to help young mechanics. I woke up and I told my wife this morning, I said, it'd be nice if I could get like a tool company to sponsor these young mechanics and help them out, because I knew when I grew up, these tools were a lot of money and I could not afford them. And if I can get this thing going to where we can honor a young mechanic every year, we'll pick out 3 of them or whatever, and just honor them. That is my goal, to do this here in hopefully within the next year or two. So that's what I want to do.
That's fantastic, and one of the things, isn't that great? One of the things I thought when we saw that montage at the beginning of the year, there were all these great drivers who helped build this sport, but there were a whole bunch of great mechanics behind the scene, and you're one of those guys. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's an honor, and just like I said, I'm blessed, and thank the Lord that He's given me the talents to be able to create something out of some tubing, to be able to, to grab an engine and build an engine from scratch, put it together, and go out and win with it. It's rewarding, and just like I said, without the Lord, I couldn't do that.
You have talent, though, but you got to have work to get it done. Congratulations, my man. You're in the Hall of Fame. Tommy Sanders, ladies and gentlemen.